Listen closely. This is not a game. Life is war, and people are either helping you rise or dragging you under. The faster you understand how people really work, the more power you gain. These are the 10 essential realities about people you need to absorb now. Not tomorrow, not later, now. Number 1. Most people don't want you to win. Most people don't want you to win. That's the cold, unfiltered truth you need to brand into your mindset before you take one more step forward in this world. Not because they're evil, not because they're out to destroy you, but because your success exposes their comfort, their excuses, their cowardice. Your rise threatens the fragile narratives they've built around why they never tried harder, why they stayed safe, why they settled for average. Understand this now. When you start to win, really win, you become a mirror. And most people hate mirrors, because mirrors don't lie. They show you everything you've avoided, every excuse you've polished into a justification. So when you shine, they squint. When you rise, they whisper. When you break through, they break down internally, because your victory forces them to confront their own stagnation. That's why the applause is loud when you're struggling. That's why the cheers come in when you're relatable in failure. But the higher you climb, the quieter it gets. And eventually, you'll notice something sickening. You're not being celebrated. You're being watched, observed, judged, picked apart. Not because you did something wrong, but because you did something they didn't dare to try. You had the audacity to believe in yourself. You had the insanity to take a risk. You had the grit to keep going when everything told you to stop. And now that you're making it, their silent resentment grows. Because you've proven that the limits they built around themselves were never real. That's what they hate, not you, what you represent. You are the living proof that the prison they live in has no lock. And that is unbearable to someone who's built their identity around being stuck. Most people don't want you to win, and the sooner you accept that, the more dangerous you become. Because you'll stop waiting for support, you'll stop expecting fairness, you'll stop being shocked when people close to you start pulling away the moment you taste momentum. They're not broken. They're human. They don't know how to handle someone who breaks the mold, who outgrows their shared past, who refuses to stay small just to keep the peace. And if you're desperate to be liked, to be understood, to be constantly supported, you'll never win. Because winning requires isolation. It requires tunnel vision. It requires doing what others won't so you can have what others can't. But you'll never do that if you're addicted to approval. And that's what most people count on. They know that if they throw enough passive doubt, enough veiled criticism, enough silence, they can weaken you. They can slow you down. Not with force, but with doubt. Not with opposition, but with absence. You'll start questioning yourself. You'll wonder why they're distant. You'll think maybe you're doing something wrong. You're not. You're just growing, and your growth makes them uncomfortable. Do not shrink to soothe someone else's insecurity. Do not dim your fire to protect their comfort. You are not here to keep everyone comfortable. You are here to become something extraordinary, and that means you will outgrow people. You will leave some behind. You will be misjudged, misunderstood, even hated. But you must keep going. Because the world doesn't need more people playing small to fit in. It needs people bold enough to lead, strong enough to stand alone, clear enough to pursue the vision, even when the cheers fade into silence. This is where the real war begins. Not with the external world, but within yourself. The war between needing acceptance and chasing greatness. Between comfort and conviction. Between playing it safe and going all in. Most people don't want you to win because it reminds them that they chose the easier path. But you, if you're serious about building something real, something lasting, something powerful, you must stop waiting for permission. You must stop needing validation. You must understand that most people's opinions are not rooted in truth, but in their own unresolved fear. They speak from their limits, not your potential. They react from their trauma, not your purpose. So when they tell you it can't be done, what they're really saying is, I couldn't do it. When they mock your ambition, what they're really saying is, I gave up on mine. And when they disappear when you succeed, what they're really doing is protecting their illusion of who you used to be, because that version didn't threaten them. But the new you, the powerful you, the rising, relentless, unstoppable version of you? That scares them. And it should. Because when you win, when you rise, when you break every chain and step into your true potential, you expose the lie they've been living. And nothing is more terrifying than seeing someone else do what you were too afraid to even try. So no, most people don't want you to win, but that's exactly why you must. Because your victory isn't just about you. It's about becoming the example someone else needs. It's about showing that it's possible. It's about breaking the cycle of mediocrity so others can follow your lead. But that starts with owning the reality that the path to greatness is lonely. It's filled with shadows, silence, and sabotage. And it demands that you become mentally bulletproof. You must stop flinching at disapproval. You must stop folding when people withdraw their support. You must stop thinking that success will bring universal love. It won't. It'll bring friction, resistance, projection. But if you endure that, if you walk through the storm and refuse to quit, you will emerge stronger, sharper, more focused. And the ones who truly matter will find you. The real ones. The few who are secure enough in themselves to celebrate your success. The ones who see your rise and say, let's go higher together. But until then, walk alone, build alone, win alone, and do it with fire. Because this world is not moved by the ones who waited for permission, by the ones who had the courage to keep rising when no one clapped, when no one showed up, when every voice around them whispered, who do you think you are? I'll tell you who you are. You're the one who doesn't fold. You're the one who shows them what's possible. You're the one who wins, whether they want you to or not. Please help spread this ancient wisdom to more people. Hit subscribe, smash the like button, and drop a comment below. It's just one click. These thoughts could inspire or help someone else on their journey. Together, we can make a difference. Number 2, people remember how you made them feel, not what you did. People will forget your words, your titles, your clever strategies, your carefully calculated moves, but they will never forget how you made them feel. That is the brutal, immovable truth. You can invest years, effort, loyalty, even sacrifice. And if along the way you made them feel small, overlooked, disposable, or invisible, then all your efforts will mean nothing. They won't remember the hours you gave. They won't remember the favors you bent over backwards to do. They'll remember the moment they felt dismissed, the moment they felt unimportant, the moment you looked through them instead of at them. And if that emotion cuts deep enough, it will bury everything else. This isn't just psychology, it's survival. Human beings are wired to remember emotion more than facts. Emotion marks the memory. It leaves a scar, a tattoo, a sensation so heavy it shapes the narrative they carry about you for the rest of their life. That's power. That's responsibility. And if you ignore this truth, you will lose people, you will lose influence, you will lose respect, and you will never understand why. Because in your mind, you did everything right. But right doesn't matter if it didn't feel right to them. Your intentions are irrelevant if the emotional impact was damaging. That's a hard pill to swallow, because it demands that you get out of your own head and into theirs. It demands self-awareness, empathy, presence. It demands that you stop being so obsessed with your to-do list, your goals, your image, and start taking full responsibility for the emotional environment you create for others. Whether you're leading, loving, managing, teaching, building, how you make people feel determines how long they'll stand beside you. And this isn't about being soft. It's about being powerful in a way most people never understand. Because power isn't in control. Power is in impact. It's in the invisible residue you leave behind every time someone walks away from an interaction with you. Did they feel seen? Did they feel heard? Did they feel like they mattered in that moment? Or did they feel like a stepping stone, a burden, a background character in the movie of your life? You must understand this if you ever want to build something that lasts. You could build a company, a movement, a brand, but if the people inside it feel like cogs in your machine, they will leave. You could raise children, pour everything into them, but if they grow up feeling emotionally neglected, your effort will not be the memory. The emotional absence will. This is why some of the most brilliant people fail. Because they think execution is everything. They think results speak louder than emotion. They think if they deliver, that's enough. It's not. People aren't machines, they're emotional beings. They crave connection, significance, warmth. And if you don't give it, someone else will. And that's who they'll follow, that's who they'll trust, that's who they'll remember. Let me put it plainly. Feelings are the currency of human connection. You want loyalty? Give emotional safety. You want respect? Give dignity. You want commitment? Make them feel valued. You want to be remembered? Make them feel alive in your presence. The people who shape this world, who lead movements, change minds, leave legacies, they all know this. They know how to speak to the soul. They know how to move emotion, not just facts. They know how to make people feel powerful, not just productive. And that's why people follow them. Not because of what they do, but because of how they make people feel in the process. You must stop underestimating the weight of a feeling, because it can build empires, or it can burn bridges you'll never be able to rebuild. Think about your own life. The people you admire, the ones you'd fight for, the ones you still think about, they all made you feel something profound. And the ones you cut off, the ones who still trigger something deep inside you, they too made you feel something unforgettable. That's the scale that matters. That's the impact you leave when the words are gone, when the memories fade, when the story is retold in someone else's mind. So ask yourself, what do people feel when they're around me? Do they feel tension, anxiety, pressure to perform? Or do they feel safe? Do they feel like they can breathe? Do they feel like they can show up fully without fear? If you don't know, you need to find out. Because your blind spot will become your downfall if you don't take responsibility for it. You must walk through this world like your presence is a weapon and decide carefully whether it's going to wound or uplift. You must become the kind of person people don't forget. Not because you were loud, but because your presence made them feel something real. This applies everywhere. In business, in relationships, in leadership, in life. You can't fake it, you can't manipulate it, because people may not remember exactly what you said, but they will remember the energy you brought. They will remember if they felt drained or inspired, diminished or elevated, dismissed or seen. That's the metric, that's the legacy. That's the edge you need to build if you want to stand out in a world filled with noise. Don't be the person who's always busy, always productive, always doing, but leaves a trail of emotional damage. Be the person who shows up with presence, with power, with clarity, and makes people feel like they matter. Because when people feel seen by you, they will fight for you. When people feel safe with you, they will give you their best. When people feel empowered by you, they will never forget you. That's influence. That's leadership. That's the kind of presence that doesn't just demand attention, it earns respect. But it all starts with awareness. With stepping into every room, every conversation, every interaction, asking yourself one thing. How am I making them feel right now? And not just in grand gestures, but in the subtle moments, the tone of your voice, the way you listen, the way you look at them when they speak, the way you treat them when no one is watching. That's where your real character shows. That's where people start building their story of you. You don't get to write that story. They do. But you influence it every second you're around them. So choose wisely, lead wisely, live wisely. Because one day, when all the noise is gone, and your actions are just shadows in the past, what they will carry, what they will tell, what they will remember, is how you made them feel. And that will be the measure of the mark you left. Number 3, loyalty has an expiration date. Loyalty has an expiration date. That's a reality most people don't want to accept, because it cuts deep. It hits where it hurts most. Your belief that people will stay, that they will remember, that they will repay what you gave them. But the truth? Most won't. Not because they're evil, not because they're broken, but because loyalty in the real world is a currency that loses value the moment your usefulness fades. It's brutal, it's raw, and it's true. This isn't about cynicism. This is about survival. This is about recognizing the world for what it is, not what you wish it to be. If you're still walking around thinking that loyalty is forever, you are setting yourself up to be blindsided. You are handing over your trust like a gift, expecting permanence in a world built on shifting needs and fragile egos. Let me be clear. Loyalty is not guaranteed. It is leased. It is transactional. It is bound to context, convenience, and relevance. And when any one of those changes, so does the loyalty. The moment your presence stops benefiting someone, the clock on their commitment to you starts ticking. That's the truth, and it hurts. Especially when you've given your all. Especially when you were there for them when no one else was. Especially when you believe that what you built with them meant more. But emotion doesn't protect you from reality. It blinds you, and you need to wake up. Because the longer you keep believing loyalty is forever, the more time you'll waste on people who were only loyal to the role you played, not to who you are. You will give your best to people who will leave the second their situation changes. And if you're not ready for that, if you don't build your life with this understanding, you will break when the loyalty ends. You will spiral. You will question your worth, but you shouldn't. Because their loyalty expiring is not about your value. It's about their priorities, their path, their self-interest. People are loyal to what serves them, to what helps them win, to what fits their story. And the moment you no longer do, they rewrite the script, and you are no longer a main character. You are a memory. This is not a reason to become cold or detached. It is a reason to become clear. You must stop expecting lifelong loyalty from people who were only meant to walk a few chapters with you. You must stop treating temporary allies like permanent foundations. That kind of thinking will destroy you. It will hollow you out. You'll keep pouring loyalty into cups that have holes at the bottom, and you'll keep wondering why you feel empty. Let me tell you why. Because you were loyal to an illusion. You believed the promises. You took their words as contracts. You thought history meant security. But people change. Circumstances shift. Priorities evolve. And when they do, so does loyalty. You have to stop taking it personally. You have to stop thinking that their change of heart means you weren't enough. It doesn't. It means you were only ever enough for the version of them that needed you back then, not the one they've become now. That's the cost of growth. Not everyone grows with you. Some grow away from you. And their loyalty expires the moment you no longer serve the version of their life they're chasing. So what do? You protect your energy. You remain aware. You give, but you don't overinvest. You commit, but you also watch the signs. You love, but you keep your center. Because loyalty is not a one-time gift, it's a behavior. It's demonstrated over time, under pressure, and in silence, when no one is watching. If someone can only be loyal when things are good, they're not loyal. They're comfortable, and the moment discomfort hits, they'll vanish. You must be ready for that. You must build strength in the knowledge that people's loyalty is not about you. It's about them. And you don't control them. You never did. You must lead your life like a warrior, giving when it's right, retreating when it's wise, and never begging for the loyalty that should be freely given. Because the moment you start chasing loyalty, you lose your power. You start bending. You start tolerating. You start sacrificing pieces of yourself to maintain connections that should have died a long time ago. And that will rot you from the inside out. You'll begin to resent them. But the truth is, it's not their fault. It's yours. You expected permanence in a world that offers none. You expected eternal loyalty in a life where everything is temporary. The faster you accept this, the freer you become. You start to see loyalty not as a right, but as a privilege. Something you earn, something you give carefully, and something you let go of when it no longer serves truth. Not every ending is betrayal. Some are just reality. Some are just growth. Some are just people reaching their expiration date in your story, and you in theirs. The key is to not confuse loyalty with attachment. Don't stay loyal to someone out of history. Don't stay loyal to someone out of guilt. Don't stay loyal to someone who wouldn't even think twice about leaving you behind if it helped them breathe easier. You have to ask yourself, is their loyalty as deep as mine? Is it reciprocal, or is it convenient? Do they fight for me the way I fight for them? Or am I just the option they choose when it suits them? If you don't ask these questions, you will live a life of quiet betrayal, smiling through relationships that are hollow at the core, investing in people who already left emotionally, just waiting for the right moment to leave physically. That's not strength. That's self-deception. You deserve more than that. But to get it, you must first face the truth. Loyalty expires. And when it does, you don't chase it, You don't grieve it endlessly. You don't beg it to return. You acknowledge it, you learn from it, and you move. That's power. That's clarity. That's maturity. People will leave. Let them. People will forget. Accept it. People will change, adapt. But never again should you let expired loyalty chain you to a version of life that no longer fits. You are not a prisoner of past connections. You are not indebted to people who only love the old version of you. You are allowed to grow, you are allowed to evolve, and you are allowed to demand that those around you do the same, or step aside. Because loyalty may have an expiration date, but your self-respect should be eternal. Never forget that. Number 4. People will project their fears onto you. They don't hate you. They fear what you represent. Let that sink in before you waste another second doubting yourself. You need to understand something that most people never figure out. The limitations others throw at you are nothing more than their own internal fears, disguised as concern, wrapped in logic, and delivered with false authority. It is not about you. It has never been about you. It is about them. Their insecurity, their fear of change, their addiction to comfort, their silent surrender to mediocrity. And when you dare to rise, when you dare to chase something greater, they panic. Not because you're wrong, but because you are evidence that they gave up too soon. You are a mirror they don't want to look into. And so they lash out, subtly or violently, projecting every fear, failure, and excuse they've ever carried onto your ambition. You must learn to recognize this venom. You must learn to see it for what it is. Because if you don't, if you allow their fear to penetrate your mind, you will live their life instead of your own. You will carry their chains instead of building your wings. You will inherit their limitations, passively and quietly, and one day you will find yourself bitter and broken, wondering where your fire went. Their fears are not yours to carry. When someone tells you be realistic, what they often mean is stay small like me. When someone warns you that it's risky, what they often mean is I never had the courage. When someone says don't get your hopes up, what they're really saying is I couldn't handle disappointment, so you shouldn't either. Every word is a window into their mental prison, and if you're not careful, they'll hand you the keys and tell you it's home. Do not accept it. Burn the blueprint they try to hand you. This world has enough people who play it safe, who stay quiet, who sit down and wait for permission. What it needs is someone bold enough to stand, someone ruthless enough to protect their dream from the soft poison of other people's fears, someone strong enough to tell the world, you don't get to write my limits. You have that in you, but only if you stop absorbing their weakness. Every time you share an idea and someone laughs, they are not mocking your vision. They are defending their own smallness. Every time you announce a bold move and someone says you're crazy, they are not assessing your risk. They are projecting their paralysis. They are scared that if you succeed, they'll have no more excuses for why they didn't even try. You must build a wall around your mind. A fortress, because these projections won't stop. They will come from friends, family, mentors, even people you admire. And here's the most brutal truth. Many of them don't even realize they're doing it. They think they're protecting you. But what they're really doing is projecting their fear of rejection, their fear of failure, their fear of being laughed at onto your journey. And if you internalize that, you will play small to make them comfortable. You will shrink to fit their approval, and slowly, piece by piece, you'll lose yourself. You'll wake up one day and realize you're living a life that was never yours, a life crafted out of other people's fears. Let me be clear, that is not a life. That is a slow, quiet death. The moment you feel the weight of someone else's fear creeping into your chest, you must act. You must draw a line, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You must reclaim your vision, your fire, your gut-level certainty that what you're building matters. You cannot afford to explain yourself to people who have already decided they wouldn't do what you're doing. You cannot afford to justify your dream to someone who stopped dreaming a decade ago. They will never understand, and they don't need to. This is your path. Yours alone. And yes, it will be lonely. It will be heavy. But it will be real. And real is rare. If you want to live a life that's truly yours, you must become a master at filtering the voices around you. Ask yourself, does this person want what I want? Have they built what I'm building? Are they speaking from strength or from fear? You'll find that most people are just echo chambers of unhealed wounds, echoing their disappointments into everyone else's journey. You don't owe them your future. You don't owe them your confidence. You owe it to yourself to be relentless, even when they tell you you're wrong. Especially when they tell you you're wrong. Because buried in that resistance is the confirmation that you are stepping outside the collective illusion. The illusion that safety is everything, that risk is failure, that dreams are childish. The truth? Safety is a cage. Risk is how you grow. And dreams are the blueprints of a soul that refuses to die quietly. Don't ever apologize for believing in something bigger than what other people can see. Their vision stops where their fear begins. Yours does not. That is your power, but you must protect it like your life depends on it, because in many ways, it does. This is not a game. This is not theory. This is the difference between a life that sets you on fire and a life that buries you alive in comfort and compromise. If you let them project their fears onto you, you will start questioning your fire. You'll hesitate, you'll water yourself down, and you will never reach the edge where real transformation begins. So when they call you crazy, you say thank you. When they doubt you, you double your focus. When they warn you not to go too far, you go further. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove to yourself that you were right to believe, right to fight, right to ignore the noise and listen to your soul. Because no one else is going to build the life you want. No one else is going to fight for your vision. That's your job, your responsibility, your war. And the battlefield is crowded with voices trying to pull you back into the dark. But you weren't built for the dark. You were built to rise. Just remember, their fear is not your compass. Your courage is. Follow it, defend it, and never again let someone else's weakness dictate your destiny. Number 5. People will use you if you let them. Let's cut the pleasantries and get real. People will use you if you let them. Not might, not could, will. It's not a possibility, it's a guarantee. If you make yourself available to be taken advantage of, someone will step up and do it without hesitation. And here's the truth, most people are too scared to say out loud. The world doesn't stop to ask if you're okay. It doesn't care about your intentions. It only sees what it can get from you. That's how it works. You were taught to be kind, to be generous, to give the benefit of the doubt. But let me ask you something. Where has that taken you? How many times have you been left drained, disappointed, betrayed, because you assumed people wouldn't cross lines you refused to draw? The world is filled with takers. They don't always come with evil intentions. Sometimes they wear the mask of friendship, love, or even family. But their behavior doesn't lie. They take your time, your energy, your peace, your loyalty, and give you crumbs in return. And every time you stay silent, every time you ignore the pit in your stomach, every time you make excuses for them, you're sending a message. Use me. I won't stop you. If you don't set boundaries, you're not being nice. You're being naive. You're offering yourself as a resource. Unprotected, unguarded, undefended. And trust me, someone is always watching. They see the cracks in your armor, and if you don't seal them, they'll pry them wide open and walk through like they own you. You need to understand something deep in your bones. Your value does not come from being agreeable. Your worth isn't measured by how much you give without asking for anything in return. If you think being endlessly available, endlessly giving, endlessly understanding will earn you respect, you're wrong. It earns you a place on someone's doormat, because people don't respect weakness. They exploit it. If you don't learn how to say no, how to protect your energy, how to guard your time like your life depends on it, then you'll keep getting bled dry by people who only show up when it's convenient for them. People will drain you. They will test how far they can push. They will take and take until there's nothing left. Not because they're evil, but because you allowed it. You gave them the green light. You made it easy. And when you finally wake up, when you finally realize you've been pouring into people who never planned to pour back, it hits like a truck. The rage, the shame, the betrayal. You feel stupid, you feel used, you feel broken. But don't stay there. Don't get bitter, get sharper, get colder, get focused. Because the solution is not to become heartless, it's to become harder to use. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. If someone constantly takes advantage of you and faces no consequences, they learn that this is your standard, that this is what you accept. And why wouldn't they keep doing it? They win every time. You lose and pretend it's love or kindness or duty. But it's not. It's self-betrayal, and there's nothing noble about it. If you want to stop being used, you have to take responsibility for the part you play in it. You have to own your passivity, your silence, your fear of confrontation. Because every time you swallow your discomfort, every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you let something slide, you train people to use you again. The world is not going to change to accommodate your softness. People are not going to wake up one day and decide to stop taking advantage of you out of the goodness of their hearts. That fantasy is dead. The only way out is through decisive action, through drawing lines that cannot be crossed, through backing your words with consequences. You don't need to yell, you don't need to threaten, you just need to be clear, ruthlessly clear. This is my limit. You cross it, you're gone. That's not cruelty, that's self-respect. And until you have it, you will keep being drained by people who only know how to take. There's a quiet kind of pain that comes from realizing you've been used for years by people you thought cared. That pain is real. That grief is valid. But let it fuel you. Let it sharpen your instincts. Let it burn away the weakness that let it happen. You are not here to be a martyr. You are not here to be someone's emotional garbage can, someone's backup plan, someone's free labor, someone's endless source of validation. You are here to build something powerful with your life. And you cannot do that while constantly being pulled into the chaos of people who only remember you when they need something. You deserve peace, you deserve respect, but you have to demand it. Not with your words, with your standards, with your boundaries, with your ability to walk away the moment you feel yourself being used. People will only change their behavior when you make it clear that the cost of using you is too high, that you're not afraid to cut ties, that you're not addicted to being liked, that you're not here to please everyone, you're here to protect your soul. Being used leaves scars. And if you're not careful, those scars turn into stories you replay in your head. Maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe I did something wrong. Stop. You were enough. You just gave to the wrong people, and you stayed too long. That's on you. But that can change. Starting now, no more excuses, no more pretending not to see the signs, no more ignoring your gut. You know when you're being used, you feel it in your chest, in your tension, in your resentment. Don't silence that voice anymore. That voice is your lifeline. Listen to it. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to you. Your time, your energy, your heart, they are not infinite. They must be protected like treasure. Because they are treasure, you are treasure. And the people who deserve you are the ones who give too, not just take, who respect your time, who show up when you're not useful to them. Those people exist, but they will never find you if you're buried under a pile of users. Clear the space, make room. Protect your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. There's a shift that happens the moment you decide you're done being used. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it's powerful. You walk differently, you speak differently, you move with purpose, and people notice. They feel the new energy, they feel the line they can't cross. Some won't like it, let them go. You're not for them anymore. You've outgrown their games. You've stepped into something stronger, something unshakable, something that says, I will no longer participate in my own exploitation. This is your wake-up call. People will use you if you let them, and you've let them for too long. But no more. Today, you take back your power. Today, you draw the line. Today, you remember who the hell you are. You are not weak. You are not helpless. You are not someone's doormat. You are the storm. You are the standard. You are the force that will never be used again. And from this moment on, anyone who wants a piece of your life better, come correct or not come at all. Number 6. People want to see progress, not potential. Let's get one thing straight. Potential doesn't impress people. It excites them at first, sure, it gives them something to imagine, to hope for, but hope doesn't last. Potential is a promise, progress is proof. People are drawn to results, they follow momentum. They don't care about what you could do someday. They care about what you've actually done. In this world, you can have all the raw talent, intelligence, ambition, and skill, But if you're not making visible progress, you're invisible. People don't rally behind dreams, they rally behind results. And if you're not moving, building, or climbing, they stop watching. They stop caring. They stop believing. Potential is the lie we use to delay action. It's the comfort zone of the gifted. You've got so much potential becomes the lullaby that rocks you to sleep while others race ahead. It flatters you just enough to stop you from realizing how little you've actually done. People will pat you on the back for your potential until they stop, until they realize you're all talk, until they realize that you're addicted to the fantasy of success, not the grind that makes it real. And when that happens, the applause dies, the doors close, the opportunities disappear, because no one bets on potential forever. Eventually, they want a return. They want results. They want proof that you're more than just hype. If you think you're special because someone once told you you had potential, let me wake you up. You're not. Everyone has potential. It's the lowest currency in the market. It costs nothing to possess. It's the starting line, not the trophy. What separates you is what you do with it. How far you've come, how hard you've bled, how many scars you carry from the battles you actually showed up for. That's what earns you respect. That's what makes people believe in you. Not your ideas, not your plans, not your potential, your progress. You want to know why people don't take you seriously? It's not because they don't see your brilliance. It's because you haven't shown them what you can build with that brilliance. You haven't executed, you haven't finished, you haven't delivered. And let me be brutally honest. People are tired of unfinished projects, half-done efforts, and excuses dressed up as ambition. They want to see someone who does, not someone who talks. They want to follow someone who makes things real. And if you can't deliver that, they'll stop showing up for you. That's the brutal truth. In this world, movement matters, results matter, progress matters. If you're not building something visible, tangible, undeniable, you're standing still. And standing still is the same as dying in a world that moves fast. People aren't watching for what you say you'll do. They're watching for what you're doing. They're scanning for signs of life, for fire, for consistency, for courage in action. Because progress speaks, it tells them you're serious. It tells them you're committed. It tells them you're not just another talker in a sea of dreamers. And when they see that, you earn their attention. You earn their trust. You earn their loyalty. Potential makes people curious. Progress makes people invest. If you want them to believe in you, show them the grind. Show them the sweat. Show them the dirt under your fingernails. Show them the price you've paid. That's what people respect. They respect those who move even when it's hard, who act even when they're scared, who build even when no one's watching. Because deep down, we all know the truth. Potential is easy. Execution is rare. And the rare are the ones who rise. Now here's where it gets personal. You've been sitting on your potential too long. You've been admired for your intelligence, your ideas, your ambition. But where's the trail of progress? Where are the results that make people stop and say, damn, they're not just dreaming, they're doing. If you don't have that, then I need you to hear this. It's time to stop worshiping your potential and start delivering progress. No one's going to wait for you forever. Life won't wait. Opportunities won't wait. The world is watching to see if you're serious. And if you don't move now, you'll be forgotten later. You think you've got time. You think you can afford to delay. But you're wrong. The clock is ticking. Every second you waste waiting to be perfect, waiting to feel ready, waiting for the stars to align, you're losing ground. You're giving your momentum away. And someone out there, someone with less talent and more hunger, is building while you're dreaming. They're winning while you're hesitating. Because they know the secret. Action beats potential every time. People follow movement. They respect effort. They rally behind those who do, not those who could. You can be the smartest person in the room. You can have the best ideas, the biggest goals, the most impressive vision. But if you don't translate that into consistent, relentless action, no one will care. Because the world is tired of promises. They want performance. They want progress. They want to see the climb, not hear about your intention to start someday. Potential is the story you tell. Progress is the proof you show. Which one do you think the world listens to? Let me be very clear. You will not be rewarded for what you might do. You will only be rewarded for what you have done and what you're doing now. That's the brutal economy of life. And that's the mindset you must adopt if you want to rise. Stop hiding behind the idea of who you could become. Become it. Stop preaching about your goals. Achieve them. Stop fantasizing about success. Bleed for it. The only language this world understands is results. People are not your cheerleaders. They're not waiting to see you succeed out of kindness. They want a reason to believe. They want to feel that fire through your results. When you show progress, you remind them of what's possible. You become a living example. And that's when they rally behind you. That's when they support, share, amplify, and follow. But only if they can see the work. Only if they can feel your momentum. Only if you've got the guts to get your hands dirty every single day with ruthless consistency. Potential without execution is just a beautiful lie. It looks good on paper, it sounds nice in conversation, but it means nothing in the real world. Don't let potential become your prison. Don't get addicted to compliments about what you could be. They're hollow, they're temporary. They will disappear the moment people realize you're not serious. The second they see that you're all promise and no performance, they're gone. They'll move on to someone who's doing the work. Someone who's not waiting to be discovered, but is out there creating something undeniable. You want the truth? Progress is painful. It's hard, it's messy, but it's the only thing that counts. Every step forward, even the small ones, builds credibility, builds belief, builds identity, and that identity becomes your leverage. It becomes your power. It becomes your story. So stop obsessing over the perfect plan. Just move, build, execute. Even if it's ugly, even if it's slow, even if no one notices at first, because eventually they will. And when they do, they'll realize you weren't just a person with potential. You were the one who delivered. The one who turned dreams into bricks and blood and legacy. So let this burn into your mind. The world doesn't care about your potential. It wants to see your progress. That's the line. That's the test. That's the war you're in. Don't lose it by staying comfortable in the idea of who you might become. Become it. Today. Now. With fire. With intensity. With the unshakable decision that you are no longer available for a life of unused talent. Because if you don't show the world progress, someone else will. And they'll win everything you could have had. Because they earned it. And you waited. Number 7. People follow certainty, not truth. People aren't looking for facts. They aren't following the most honest person in the room. They're not chasing the quiet truth buried under nuance or patience. No, what they're following, what they gravitate toward, obsess over, and submit to, is certainty, confidence. The person who speaks without hesitation, who walks into a room and radiates belief in themselves, even when they're wrong. The truth alone isn't powerful enough. It needs a carrier. It needs a voice that doesn't flinch. And this is where most people lose, because they think being right is enough. It's not. This world doesn't reward quiet truth. It rewards bold delivery. People follow the person who says, "This is the way," with fire behind their words, not the one who whispers, "Maybe this could be right." You can have all the data, all the evidence, all the wisdom in the world, but if you can't deliver it with conviction, the world will pass you by. People want a leader, not a lecturer. They want someone who makes them feel safe in their uncertainty. And safety comes not from facts, it comes from presence. It comes from the tone of your voice, the intensity in your eyes, the way you carry your soul. Truth is powerless if it's wrapped in hesitation. And lies? They become gospel if spoken with enough certainty. That's the harsh reality. That's the battlefield you're on. This isn't a call to abandon truth. It's a command to embody it, because people don't follow truth. They follow what feels like truth. And feeling is everything. That's what moves humans. That's what leads nations. That's what builds cults, brands, and revolutions. Emotion wins, always. If your truth doesn't stir something deep in the gut, it gets ignored. It gets left behind. Truth that doesn't move people emotionally is a corpse, lifeless, useless, forgotten. You want to lead? You want to impact? Then you must become the voice of unshakable certainty. You must believe in your message so deeply that it consumes you. Because people will test you, they'll question you, they'll doubt you. But if you stand your ground, if you hold your line with fire in your chest, they'll listen. Even if they don't understand it fully, even if they disagree, they'll respect it. Why? Because they crave direction. They crave a mind that isn't crippled by indecision. In a world drowning in doubt, the rarest currency is conviction. This is why fake leaders often win. It's not because they're right, it's because they sound right. It's because they remove the discomfort of ambiguity. People hate ambiguity. They want to be led. They want to be told what to do, what to think, how to feel, because that's easier than figuring it out on their own. It's easier to follow a lion with a blindfold than a genius whispering in a corner. Power doesn't come from correctness, it comes from clarity. You want to rise? You want people to trust you, follow you, remember your name? Then kill the hesitation. Speak like you mean it. Move like you've already won. Stop second-guessing yourself into silence. Because if you don't claim that space with certainty, someone else will. And they'll own the crowd, even if everything they say is wrong. Certainty isn't a feeling, it's a decision. It's forged in the fire of doing hard things, in standing alone, in carrying your message through the storms of criticism and rejection. Certainty is built by doing what others are afraid to do, by speaking when others stay quiet, by acting when others wait for permission. You don't become certain by waiting for perfect conditions. You become certain by deciding that your voice matters now, that your mission can't be delayed, that your message is more important than your fear. That's how leaders are made. That's how movements are born. Through people who dare to show up with backbone, not just brains. This reality cuts deep, doesn't it? Because it exposes the lie you've told yourself, that your silence is noble, that your caution is wisdom, that your uncertainty makes you honest. No, it makes you invisible. And in this world, the invisible get stepped over. The invisible don't inspire. The invisible don't lead. They watch others rise. They watch louder people win. And they wonder why truth doesn't prevail. It doesn't prevail because you didn't fight for it. Because you didn't deliver it with the heat it deserved. You watered it down, softened the blow, cushioned the edges, and now it's dead on arrival. You have a message. You have a truth. But until you become the vessel that people trust, it won't matter. Because people don't follow ideas. They follow energy. They follow power. They follow certainty. And if that certainty belongs to the wrong person, then the world follows the wrong person. That's the cost of your hesitation. That's the consequence of hiding behind facts and logic and data without the fire to make people care. So stop playing small. Stop waiting for someone to validate your message before you speak it. Stop thinking that being right is enough. It's not. Being right is the minimum. Delivering it with strength is what makes it matter. If you want people to hear you, you have to roar. Not because you're trying to be loud, but because the truth inside you refuses to be silenced. You need to own the room before you even walk into it. Not with arrogance, but with purpose. Not with volume, but with presence. Because people can feel when someone believes in their own words, and they can feel when someone's just reciting information they read online. Don't recite, ignite. Don't present, command. Don't try to convince, embody. Let your presence say, I know who I am and I know what I stand for. Because when you show up with that kind of certainty, people listen. They may not agree with you, but they won't forget you. And that's the key. You don't need everyone to agree with you. You need them to feel you, to respect you, to remember you. Truth changes minds. Certainty moves hearts. Bring both. And when you do, you'll realize something powerful. That you never needed permission to speak with power. You never needed someone else to validate your message. All you needed was to stop playing small. Because the world doesn't need more truth hidden in the shadows. It needs bold, relentless warriors willing to stand tall and speak with fire. That's what earns respect. That's what people follow, and that's what changes everything. Number 8. People mirror what you tolerate. People mirror what you tolerate. Read that again. Not what you want, not what you deserve, what you tolerate. Life doesn't reward your dreams. It rewards your standards, and people around you will adapt, adjust, and evolve, or devolve, based on what you allow. This truth is ruthless. It's uncomfortable, but it is non-negotiable. If you let people walk all over you, they will. If you let disrespect slide, it multiplies. If you make room for mediocrity in your relationships, in your workplace, in your home, it becomes the culture you live in. You are not a victim of people's behavior. You are a co-creator of it. And that reality should punch you in the gut. It should force you to stop pointing fingers and start looking in the mirror. You get what you tolerate, nothing more, nothing less. Every time you let someone cross a line and stay silent, you teach them that the line doesn't exist. Every time you bend your standards to avoid discomfort, you give permission for the world to treat you like you don't matter. And let me tell you something. If you keep making excuses for other people's behavior, if you keep saying that's just how they are, then you are building your life around weakness. Not strength, not values. Weakness. And weakness doesn't earn respect. It earns manipulation, confusion, pain. People are smart. They test limits. They observe how far they can go. Consciously or unconsciously, they're always measuring what they can get away with. That's human nature. And if you don't stand for something clearly, fiercely, and repeatedly, they will push, they will probe, and eventually they will bulldoze you. Not necessarily because they're evil, but because you let them. You showed them that your boundaries were suggestions, not rules. That your standards were flexible, not fixed. That your self-respect was a theory, not a reality. Do you want to know how to build a life where people treat you with respect, where you are surrounded by loyalty, power, and purpose? It starts with refusing to tolerate anything that insults your soul. The moment you let go of the fear of confrontation is the moment you gain power over your life. Because real power comes from presence, and presence is built on standards. Not shouting, not ego, but unwavering standards. When you look someone in the eye and say, "I don't accept that," and you mean it, you reshape the dynamic. You force alignment or you force exit. Either way, you win. Because you're no longer a passive recipient of energy, you're the one setting the tone. The strongest people you admire, the ones who command rooms, lead movements, change the world, they don't tolerate disrespect. They don't tolerate laziness. They don't tolerate excuses. They radiate energy that says, "I know who I am, and I won't shrink to make you comfortable." And people feel that. They rise to meet it, or they leave. That's the beauty of boundaries. They don't just protect you, they define you. And they magnetize the right people into your life while filtering out the rest. But only if you're consistent. Only if your energy, your language, your actions all scream the same message. I don't tolerate weakness. I don't tolerate disrespect. I don't tolerate anything that violates the standards I've fought to build. Here's the emotional gut punch. If people in your life consistently treat you poorly, it's not just a reflection of them. It's a reflection of what you've been willing to accept. That should sting, it should burn, but it should also wake you up. Because the power to change it lies in your hands, not in their apology, not in their awareness, in your standards. Raise them, enforce them, live them. People don't need to be told how to treat you. They need to feel it in the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you move through the world. Your standards are your armor. Your energy is your sword. Use them. Do not confuse kindness with tolerance. Do not mistake compassion for compliance. You can be loving and firm. You can be generous and immovable. And in fact, that's where your greatest strength lies. In the ability to stay human without becoming a doormat. In the ability to forgive without losing your backbone. In the ability to care, but not at the cost of your own dignity. And let me be brutally honest with you. If you don't build that kind of strength, the world will chew you up. It will use your silence as consent, your niceness as weakness, and your empathy as an entry point for abuse. You must become sharp, clear, unapologetically honest. That's what people respect. That's what commands behavior. That's what creates change. Your life is a mirror of your inner thresholds. You want to attract better people, better energy, better opportunities? Then cut off access to anything and anyone that thrives on your silence. Every time you let someone cross a line and stay, you reinforce the idea that your time, your value, your emotions are negotiable. And if you keep sending that message, don't be surprised when no one values you. Don't be surprised when you wake up surrounded by chaos you invited. People will treat you how you let them. It's that simple and that brutal. If someone lies to you once, it's on them. If they do it again, it's because you let them. If someone undermines your vision, your voice, your values, and you keep them around, you're training them that your pain has no consequence. And the longer you allow it, the harder it becomes to escape it. So the time is now. Not next year, not next week. right now. Redraw the lines, raise the bar. Make people earn your energy. Make them respect your time. Make them feel the weight of your presence, because you've built it on a foundation of self-respect that doesn't shake with the wind. You are not meant to shrink to be loved. You are not meant to bend to be accepted. You are not meant to absorb pain just to keep the peace. You are meant to lead, to stand, to define what's acceptable in your world. And if someone can't meet you there, they can leave. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. That's strength. And that's how you protect your future. So don't ask how people can change. Ask how your standards need to evolve. Don't wait for them to get it. Show them through your energy that the old games won't work here anymore. Let your life become a reflection of power, not pain. Respect, not regret. And above all, truth, not tolerance. Because when people look at you and see that your standards are not up for debate, they adjust or disappear. And both are a win. Because finally, you'll be living on your terms. You want people to treat you like you matter? Then stop tolerating what makes you feel small. You want to attract strength? Then stop making space for weakness. You want to be respected? Then stop living like your boundaries are optional. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be respected. And that starts the moment you decide to raise your standards and never again lower them for anyone. That's the brutal truth about people you must understand. They mirror what you tolerate. So what will you tolerate starting today? What lines need to be drawn? What energy needs to be removed? Decide now, because your life depends on it. Number 9, people are selfish, and that's not always bad. People are selfish. That's the truth, whether you like it or not. And before you jump to judgment, before you pretend that this is a flaw exclusive to others and not yourself, let's get brutally honest. Selfishness isn't just common, it's human. It's hardwired. It's not some defect to be fixed, it's a force to be understood. And if you don't get this, if you go through life expecting people to prioritize you over themselves, you are going to get crushed. Again and again. People act in their own best interest. They think about their survival, their future, their gain. They protect their time, their energy, their sanity. And that doesn't make them evil, it makes them real. This world is not filled with angels who wake up every morning wondering how to make your life easier. It's filled with individuals navigating chaos, just like you, fighting to keep their own lives intact. You're not the center of anyone's universe, and you were never meant to be. The moment you accept this is the moment you free yourself. Because once you understand that people will choose themselves most of the time, you stop expecting the world to hand you fairness. You stop waiting for someone to come save you. You stop crying about the lack of loyalty, the missed calls, the broken promises, and you start building power. Real power. The kind that doesn't beg for attention or validation or rescue. You become your own savior. That's what this truth demands. It demands that you take radical responsibility for your own well-being, for your dreams, for your outcomes. You stop saying, "Why didn't they help me?" and start asking, "Why did I wait for them?" And when you get that, when you feel the weight of that realization, you unlock a version of yourself that's untouchable, unshakable, unstoppable. You stop living in emotional debt, waiting for someone to finally give you what you think you deserve. You stop holding people hostage to your expectations, and you start rising. Selfishness isn't the enemy. Misunderstanding it is. Because here's the twist. Selfishness, in its purest form, is survival. And when you understand that, you start to see why people walk away, why they protect themselves, why they don't always give back what you give them. It's not always because they're cold or cruel. It's because they're choosing themselves in a world that never stops demanding more. And you need to do the same. You need to learn how to protect your energy, your time, your peace. You need to stop bleeding for people who wouldn't even flinch for you. Stop setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. That kind of self-destruction is not noble. It's pathetic. And worse, it's unnecessary. If you want to thrive in this world, stop judging selfishness and start mastering it. That means knowing when to say no. That means walking away from people who only take. That means putting your mission before anyone's comfort, including your own. That's not toxic. That's clarity. That's the mindset of winners. Because winners understand that no one's coming to carry them. No one's job is to lift you out of your darkness. That responsibility, it's yours. Always has been. You want support? Earn it. You want loyalty? Inspire it. You want people to show up for you? Then show up for yourself first, loudly, relentlessly, unapologetically. Because here's the deeper truth. When you respect your own boundaries, when you demand more from yourself than anyone else ever could, people notice. They watch you. They start to take you seriously. Not because you begged, but because you became someone worth following. Someone who doesn't just understand that people are selfish, but knows how to navigate it, how to lead despite it, how to win through it. You can either cry that people put themselves first, or you can become the person who does the same and builds a life no one can take from you. When you stop expecting people to do what's best for you and start doing what's best for yourself, you rise above the noise. You become rare. You become powerful. Because most people waste years waiting for others to change. The smart ones, they change themselves. And that change starts with seeing the world clearly. No more illusions. No more fantasies about loyalty and fairness in a world built on self-interest. The people you admire most, the ones who seem unstoppable, they didn't get there by expecting others to carry them. They got there by taking control, ruthlessly. And if you're serious about becoming that kind of person, if you're ready to level up, to stop feeling sorry for yourself and start owning every second of your life, you need to drop the expectation that anyone owes you anything, because they don't, and they never did. But here's the beautiful twist. When you stop expecting people to give, when you stop depending on the emotional charity of others, something wild happens. You become the source of strength, a focus of energy. And in that state, people start showing up for you, not because you need them, but because your energy is magnetic, because you're no longer draining them with expectation. You're leading, you're building, you're living from overflow. That's what happens when you understand selfishness, not as a flaw, but as a fact. A fact you can either fight and keep losing to, or use and start building with. That's the choice. The selfish world isn't your enemy, it's your training ground. Rise accordingly. We have more interesting videos about Stoicism and the way of life. If you want to watch a video about listen to this every morning, please click link above in the video. If you like the video, or you don't want to miss further videos about Stoicism, please subscribe. Number 10. People respect strength, not excuses. People don't respect your reasons. They don't respect your struggles. They don't respect how tired you are, how hard it's been, how unfair it all feels. You can try to explain your story 1,000 different ways, but the brutal truth is this. The world is not moved by your excuses. It is moved by your strength. That's the raw reality. That's the line in the sand. People respect power. They admire control. They are drawn to the energy of someone who refuses to fold, someone who refuses to break, someone who shows up and delivers when it would have been so easy to quit. They remember that. They respond to that. That's how respect is built. Not by justification, but by domination. Not with apologies, but with results. The second you start believing that your backstory is a reason to be pitied instead of fuel to rise, you've already lost the room. You've already lost the respect. You've already given your power away. Because people don't care what you've been through unless you show them what you did with it. That's the line. That's the difference between those who are watched and those who are ignored. You want to be respected? Then stop defending your limitations. Stop selling your story like it's a permission slip for mediocrity. No one is handing out trophies for who had it the worst. You want to be seen? Then rise. You want to be heard? Then win. The world is full of people who are tired, full of people who've been hurt, full of people who could explain all the reasons why they haven't done more, but don't. Because deep down, people aren't looking for weakness wrapped in poetry. They're looking for fire. They're looking for someone who walked through hell and came out stronger. They're watching you, waiting to see if you break, waiting to see if you cave in and shrink like everyone else. And when you don't, when you stand tall, when you keep your head up, when you take the pain and make something powerful out of it, they don't need an explanation. They don't need your excuses. They feel your strength and they respect you for it. That's how it works. That's human nature. Strength commands attention. Strength earns silence. Strength earns loyalty. The truth is, people don't care how many times you fell. They care that you kept getting up. They don't respect the guy who says, "I almost made it." They respect the one who says, "I made it happen." They don't care that the mountain was steep. They care that you climbed it anyway, that you didn't fold, that you didn't break, that you didn't let your fear, your fatigue, your frustration, or your failures become permanent. People follow certainty. They crave conviction. They are magnetized by those who radiate unshakable resolve. And that doesn't come from perfect circumstances. It comes from deciding that your situation is not stronger than your spirit. It comes from rejecting your excuses and replacing them with execution. It comes from refusing to explain why you couldn't and focusing instead on proving that you can. If you want to be taken seriously in this world, you need to show people something they can't ignore, something they can't dismiss. And that isn't found in words, it's found in actions. It's in your work ethic, it's in your standards, it's in how you carry yourself when everything's falling apart. Excuses are the language of the average. Strength is the language of the respected. And every day you choose between the two. Every moment you're given the choice. Do I sit back and explain my pain, or do I rise up and overcome it? Do I blend in with the weak, or do I rise up as the strong? The answer to that question determines how the world sees you. It determines whether people trust you, follow you, believe in you, not because you asked them to, but because they saw that you live by a code that doesn't bend, a code that doesn't break, a code that says no matter what happens, I own it, I handle it, I rise above it, and people feel that. They remember that. That's what earns you a seat at the table. That's what makes them say your name when you're not in the room. Not your story, not your pain, your strength, your unshakable ability to move forward no matter what. That's the difference. You want to change how people treat you? Change how you show up. Walk like you own every step. Speak like your words carry weight. Work like every day is your legacy being written. Stop asking for understanding and start demanding respect by earning it, by showing it, by being it. No one can argue with results. No one can dismiss relentless consistency. No one can ignore the energy of someone who refuses to be defeated. That's strength. And strength is respected, every time, without exception. So if you want the world to take you seriously, stop justifying your weakness and start amplifying your power. Stop retreating into your reasons and start building a reputation. Excuses might get you sympathy, but strength gets you the world. Strength gets you freedom. Strength gets you everything they said you couldn't have. Because in the end, people remember the ones who stood tall, not the ones who explained why they couldn't. Stand tall. Be the strength they can't ignore. Till the next time, stay strong and live wisely.